Every year, hundreds of climbers flock to Mount Everest, driven by a dream to stand on top of the world. But this majestic peak is also one of the most dangerous places on Earth. While many tragedies are due to unavoidable circumstances like avalanches or sudden weather changes, some are the result of choices that, in hindsight, seem incredibly risky. Today, we're going to look at some of these stories, not to judge, but to understand the immense pressures and challenges of Everest and learn from the past. Let's start with the story of Maurice Wilson. Back in the 1930s, Wilson, a British soldier, came up with a bold plan. He believed he could fly a small plane to the slopes of Everest, crash-land it, and then simply walk to the summit. He had very little mountaineering or flying experience. He bought a plane, named it Everest, and took a few flying lessons. His plan was denied by the authorities, so he decided to fly illegally from Britain to India. After a challenging journey, he managed to trek into Tibet disguised as a monk. He made several attempts on the mountain, completely alone and with inadequate gear. His final diary entry recorded that he was still trying, despite being weak and facing terrible weather. His body was found a year later. His story is a powerful reminder that determination alone isn't enough. Experience and proper preparation are absolutely essential. Next, we have the case of Hannelore Schmatz in 1979. She became the first woman to die on the upper slopes of Everest after successfully reaching the summit. During the descent, exhausted and caught by darkness, she and her fellow climber, Ray Jennett, decided to bivouac, or camp overnight in the open at a very high altitude. Their Sherpa guides urged them to continue down to a lower, safer camp, but they were too tired. It was a fatal decision. Overnight, Ray Jennett passed away, and despite her guide's efforts to save her, Hannelore also succumbed to the extreme cold and exhaustion just a short distance from Camp 4. Her body remained visible on the main route for years, a stark landmark known as the Rainbow Valley Woman, reminding all climbers of the dangers of stopping to rest in the death zone. Descending is just as critical as ascending, and pushing through exhaustion to reach safety can be the difference between life and death. Another deeply concerning trend is what some call summit fever. This is a compulsive need to reach the top at all costs, even when all signs point to turning back. In 1996, a year made famous by John Krakauer's book, Into Thin Air, several climbers pushed for the summit despite knowing they were well past their agreed-upon turnaround time. The turnaround time is a critical safety rule. No matter how close you are, you must head down by a certain time to ensure you can descend safely before dark and before your oxygen runs out. On that tragic day, climbers continued upward late into the afternoon. As a result, they were caught in a brutal storm during their descent, leading to one of the deadliest days in the mountain's history. This event highlights how ambition, when unchecked, can override common sense and lead to devastating consequences for everyone on the team. Then there's the danger of underestimating the mountain. People have tried to climb Everest with all sorts of unconventional ideas. There have been attempts to ski down, paraglide from the summit, and even climb without proper acclimatization. Each of these attempts carries enormous risk. For example, in 2006, a British climber named David Sharp attempted to summit alone with minimal support and what was believed to be an inadequate oxygen supply. On his descent, he took shelter in a rock cave near the main climbing route. He was so exhausted and hypothermic that he could no longer move. Dozens of climbers passed him on their way up and down. While there's a lot of debate about the moral obligations of other climbers, his situation underscores a crucial point. Climbing without a team, without sufficient support, and without enough resources on Everest is an incredibly dangerous gamble. In recent years, the mountain has faced a new problem: overcrowding. With more permits being issued, long lines can form in the death zone, particularly at tricky spots like the Hillary Step. This means climbers are stationary for long periods at extreme altitudes. burning through their limited oxygen supply and increasing their exposure to the elements. In 2019, a viral photo showed a traffic jam of climbers near the summit. Several deaths that season were linked to delays caused by these crowds, leading to exhaustion and oxygen depletion. It's a modern-day challenge that forces us to question the commercialization of the mountain. Choosing a less crowded day or a more experienced guide company that plans for these delays is now a critical part of a safe climb. The stories of those who perished on Everest are sobering. They teach us that the mountain always has the final say. It demands respect, humility, and meticulous planning. It's a place where a single poor decision, whether driven by ego, exhaustion, or simply a lack of experience, can have irreversible consequences. As we look at these events, the goal isn't to label them as stupid, but to see them as powerful lessons written on the slopes of the world's highest peak. They serve as a guide for future adventurers, reminding them that getting back down safely is the only true summit. If you found this exploration of mountaineering history interesting, please consider subscribing for more content. Stay safe, and thank you for watching.